Welcome to Gander Bay Community Television, live from the Church Hall in Wingers Point. My name is Connie Squires. The program tonight is called Gander Bay Forum. Let's look at ourselves. What we are looking at in Gander Bay in the past and in the present, and where we want to be. Here also with me this evening is Fred Campbell from the Morrow University Extension. Fred, how did you become involved in Gander Bay Television?
Well, a group of people from the university were asked to help by the sponsors of tonight's program, but before I mention the sponsors, I should say that all of the cameras and switchers here tonight are being operated by students of Centennial High School. The sponsors of the program are Gander Bay Hamilton Sound Development Association, Clark's Head Indian Band Council, and the local service districts of Gander Bay North and South. Connie.
Anyone can phone in when the panel is in progress at 676-2995 and give any comments or ask any questions. And you can even phone in and tell us how you think of the program so far.
There are two panels tonight, and there'll be entertainment following the program. You're welcome to phone in at any time. And I'd like you all to remember that the phone is really important here and that we need you to participate. We're really sorry for the delay in starting tonight. We had difficulties in getting the sound out, and we're checking it out, and somewhere in the miles of cables here on the floor, we found a bad cable. We're really sorry. I've heard that the hydro may be interfering with the signal across the bay in Harris Point and Georges Point, and the signal on the Gander Bay North side is much better, so if you have friends over here, why don't you come on over? Remember, our phone number is 2995. That's 2995. So, hey, we're on the air finally, and I'd like you to stay tuned. I'd like you to stay tuned for a night of community television in Gander Bay.
We are talking today with Douglas Gillian, better known in this area as Uncle Doug. Uncle Doug, can you give me just a brief history of the area, like what it was like back when you were a boy?
Oh yes, I can tell you a little. This was hard times, very hard. We had to do a lot of things that we haven't got to do today. Work was plenty, and money was scarce. I worked for $21 a month. Worked 3 winters in the lumber woods for $21 a month. I cut pulpwood for $1.10, whereas now it's $30 a core. So I don't think I'll say much more about that question.
How long have you lived in this area, Uncle Doug?
81 years.
And
a little over 81 years.
I know that you've seen a lot of changes in the place in that time.
I have seen a lot of changes.
Could you tell us about some of the bigger changes you've seen?
Well, one of the biggest changes, I suppose, is our high road and broad convenience to our place. I don't know if it made it much better or not, but it made it convenient for people to travel, one thing. And the other thing that I've noticed in my late years, our labor has gone very scarce. We got nothing for the young people, which is the importantest thing in this world.
Yes. Is
the young youth. They got to travel right out of where they was born and go to a place, and they're not qualified, half of them, to get the kind of work. There's plenty of work where they're gone, when they go over there, but they don't qualify. They haven't got the skill for to place them in the right way. They got to take over whatever they get, which is at low salary in them countries. A lot of them, and more, and makes good hits of it, and comes along right.
Right.
And our men is brave. They fought very hard for their living, young and old.
I noticed you've got a couple of sashes, I guess you call it, from the Orange Lodge. You're a member of that?
Yeah, I do. I joined that lodge when I was quite a young man, in the 18. I traveled from the first degree to the last one I could get in this country, which is a white rose. I can't get that. You've got to be in Ireland to get that. So I can't go there. And I also has a collar there belongs to the church. We found up there was an organization in the church that collar is presented from that. And sash belongs to the Royal Black Pacific.
What about education back when you were a boy, Uncle Doug?
I didn't share too well with education. I got first grade 3. And most of my boy chaps done a little better than I did. I taught too much about the girls. I was running about too much.
And so a grade 3 education back then would be equivalent to what today?
Well, I should say the grade 3s that I got into, and what I picked up after, is pretty near so good as grade 10 now.
Did you go to just a one-room school, or was it a two-room school, or what?
No, only a one-room school. Yeah, one-room school.
And most of the teachers were from outside place?
Sat in, there wasn't seats enough for all of us, so I sat and sat with a girl. I was a bad boy. I know I often got caught in seat with the girl doing something wrong, and the teacher would stick me up in the corner for an hour or two.
How come your family, like your parents, came to Gander Bay, or how far back were your people here?
Well, so far as I can go about my parents, somewhere in the 1800s. I can only remember, I know every one of them, what I can remember of. I know them as well as I know any people around here. But I don't know the people that first ancestors come here. But it was in the 1800s. I know all of them, right through the bay. Gilliam's was the first, I think, that come in Gander Bay. And then it was Francis, Bercy's, and Clark's, Coates's, and Heed's. And from that on, the generation got populated, eh? Very fast.
What brought the people here, the first settlers? Why did they come to Gander Bay?
Where don't come from?
Yeah, no, why did they come here to settle? What were they
Well,
doing?
that's a hard question because all the people that come around here in Gander Bay, they was like this every place. They perched on every rock and every bit of soil right round Newfoundland. And some of them we don't know where they come from. Our people come out from England, the Gilliam family. Welsh in England.
Most of the small communities in Newfoundland started out because of the fishery, right? Was that the same here in Gander Bay? Was it a fishing community?
Well, the fishing and fern was there, and making cooper casts for salmon. And they barred Gander River. They had a permit from the government that they could go up and fish the river. Put a net across the river, barred the river. They was allowed to do that at that time. 1 mile from salt water upstream.
When did the woods work start here? Do you remember that?
Well, I can't go back any further than 1918, like that. I can remember it then. The lumber woods, Harwood Lumber Company, started logging in Gander Bay. And the companies, A&D Company at Millertown, and Carter broke the Bowater Company started. I can remember it that first hearing of it. That was from 1920, around there.
Was there a lot of people working at that?
All of what was living there stuck their hands in the woods.
When did that start to change, you know?
Changed in the 30s. Laid it down. And now our timber is just about all cut. The forest is just about cleaned out around here. And pulpwood, sawlogs, just a few more small contractors cutting, no. And that's the end of it around here. A couple of years more.
Is that having a big impact on the economy in the area? The fact that the woods is gone?
Well, it's a big loss to the economy because we haven't got nothing else for the future, as I can see it.
How did the road coming through make Gander Bay different?
Well, the people, they had to do all boat work up the river, which was 30 miles. They all come that way, or it had to go around 60 miles to Lawsport. And the roads come through here, our freight is coming now in wholesalers, and so it made everything more convenient. And the causeway put across Gander Bay, that topped her off. So we're open to the whole world. So it might make a lot of difference.
With me this afternoon we have Mrs. Edna Gilliam, who is a resident of Clark's Head. Mrs. Gilliam, no doubt you've seen changes in your community over the years, being a senior resident. Maybe you could tell us about the changes you have seen from your child, I don't know about from your child, but when you were growing up to now.
Yes. Well, I grew up on Change Island.
I see.
Yes. And not here at Gander Bay. Been living here over 40 years though now. And, well, of course there were no motor cars or anything.
Right, yes.
I had to go up to walk and in boat.
I guess the horse and the cart.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yes, and of course we were almost isolated from the other community except by a motorboat.
So you had to travel in motorboat to get on the other side?
On the other side. Yeah, sometimes it'd be a fairly big boat, which was called a passenger boat. And this would be get to like to Tooling Gate or if you want to go to Fogo. But on the other hand, now there was a coastal boat. Coastal boats came in. The Clyde was one of them, and the Home. And they would bring in all the supplies, of course, and of course they had passenger service too.
What would be one of the biggest changes that you saw in this community? I guess further the highway would be one of the biggest changes you
Oh,
see?
yes, definitely, definitely, the highway. Because when I came here in Ganderbay, there was just very narrow roads, and of course everybody, had to walk from here to there.
Right.
and the except our horse now in the winter.
Right.
That's right. But there were no bikes around or anything like that. Just
when you came to Clark Said, what was the educational system like then? Did you have were you going to school?
denominational. Yes. I have retired here in Ganderbay for 5 years.
Oh, so you're a retired school
That's
teacher?
right. That's
oh,
right.
I see.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
maybe you could tell us a little bit about the educational system then.
Yes, I can tell you about the salary.
Yes, compared to today, I guess.
$22 a month for the first month, for the first year.
For the first year.
$23 I got for the second year. Third year I got 27, and then I got 45. That was really a lot of money after just getting to us then. At $45
Back then, what were your qualifications like? Did you have to go to were you?
Yeah, grade 11 and then teacher's training.
I see.
Yes.
So did you have to leave home to get your teacher's training?
Oh yes, go to St. John's.
Yes, go to St. John's.
That's right.
What was the educational system like then? Like, did you have a one-room classroom or two? Or
Oh yes, in the school that I taught, the schools that I taught, it's just a one room.
Was that here in Ganderbay?
But here in Ganderbay, at Claps Head where I'm living now, it's two-room school.
I
There
see,
for a
good.
lot of years now, yes, two-room.
Right.
Yeah. And then, of course, after that, there was a bigger school, and there was
Being
five
built.
classrooms in that.
I see.
But then, of course, the elementary school and the high school were built.
The school that you were taught in, was it here in Ganderbay itself?
Yes, Wings Point 2 years, and Rogers Cove 3.
Oh, I see.
Yes, yes.
So did you have a number of students in your class, or was it just a small number?
Oh, no, I had over, 38. 38 at Wings Point. Rogers Cove, probably 25 or 27, around there.
So what grade did most people finish?
Well, grade 9 was the highest grade that I taught.
I
grade
see.
9.
So
But some of those pupils, one or two of them anyway, they went elsewhere and got their grade 11, you see.
Yeah. Did most of them finish school that you taught him?
No, not very many.
They had to leave due to
Yes,
family
for one reason and
responsibilities.
another. That's right, one reason and another.
Yeah.
Not very many got their grade 11.
Um,
No, not from, I'm talking about again the schools that I taught.
right, the Ganderbay
Yes,
schools
yes.
that you taught.
But at St. John's where I grew up, there's a lot of, when I got the grade 11, I went on
Whatever.
to different professions, a lot of them were teaching.
No doubt you've seen a big change in the educational system today compared to when you were teaching.
Quite a change, quite a change.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, Ms. Gilliam.
No, you're kindly welcome.
With me this afternoon we have Mr. Rex Torville, who's a resident of Victoria Cove. Mr. Torville, being a senior resident, no doubt you've seen changes in your community over the years.
Oh, there has been quite a lot of changes, yes. Especially for the schools. Years ago, we just had the one-room school here where I attended and got the education that I got, which is not too much altogether. And I said, there's no such things as buses, of course. Then you walk to school and take a chunk of wood to light the fire when you get there and keep warm during the day. And well, that's how we were. Then not all the years come up when we had this was the next school, the two-room school. For years we were going to the one-room school, and then we changed to having a two-room school. But I didn't attend this one. I was before my time.
I see, yeah.
Or since I went to school, I mean, that we were here.
I guess no doubt a number of those who were attending school had to leave due to family responsibilities and could not finish their grades as well.
A lot of them did had to. I did, for one. Didn't have to leave altogether, but when we got a certain age, then we wanted to go to work. With our parent or our father and different things. I spent years in the woods, cutting wood for A&D Company and Blowwaters. and did some fishing, of course, cod fishing. We used to have to go down to Little Fogo Islands in them years to do fishing.
You're also involved with the church as well, are you?
Yes, I can say that I have been involved with the church for many years, I suppose. In these years where it's not like it is now, I don't think that, because a lot of the young people don't attend church like we did, of course. The reason of that is there's so many other things that people are involved in. But then there was just a church here in Victoria Court, of course, and that's where we went with our parents. And for my own part, after I finished being told to go to church with my father, I just took it up. And I held offices in the church for a number of years, like warden, church warden, minister warden. And I've been lay reading there now for 38 years, to be exact. And I've also been the treasurer of the parish of Ganderbay for 35 years up to this time. So I suppose that's not too bad.
Very good. Thank you very much, dear Mr. Torva.
You're kindly welcome.
With me this afternoon is Mrs. Eva Blake. You're a resident of Victoria Cove, Ganderbay, am I correct?
Yes, that's true.
Mrs. Blake, being a senior resident, maybe you could tell us about the history of Ganderbay itself, or maybe your community where you live in, changes there's been since you were growing up to now.
Well, there's been lots of changes. For one thing, we have oil roads now, and cars and trucks and everything.
I guess that's one of the biggest changes.
That's one of the biggest changes, I guess. And we have electricity, TV, well, radio. We had radio, you know. Not when I was growing up, we didn't have radio, but after I got married, we had radio. But we had TV now and electricity, switch on a light. We haven't got to trim the whole oil lamps, put all the lamps with oil and trim them every day. Going to have to do that. And,
only when the power goes off.
Oh, yes, oh, yes, we have a lamp for standby, a candle or something. And, well, we've dressed different from what we did when I was growing up. No slacks then for the girls. You had to wear skin boots in the winter through the snow. And someone that would be a little bit better off, probably they get the cloth gaiters, you know. But usually the poorest of us would wear skin boots at school.
What about the educational system, Mrs. Blake, back then? Were there any schools in your area, or did you have to travel from to another community?
No, we had a school, but we had to go about a mile and a quarter to school. And no matter how rough it was, you went to school. And there's a one-room school, all the grades in one room. And you had to carry a junk of wood to school for the fire, get the fire going. And when you got to grade 5, grade 6, you're set for exams. Now it's, what, 9, 10, 11 or something before you take exams?
We mean public exams?
Yeah,
like
public exams.
At grade 10?
Well, then it was grade 6. That was called primary. And then the next year was grade 7 was preliminary, and 8 was intermediate. And that's as far as I got in intermediate.
I said grade 10, grade 12 now, because there's a new grade being introduced in the school system,
grade
right?
12, yes.
Compared to the school systems now, it's quite different, isn't it?
It's quite different, yes.
Now they have several classrooms, and they have different schools to go to. I guess the school that you went to served the old Ganderbay area?
No,
or?
just Victoria Cove.
Oh, just Victoria Cove.
And there was one at Clark Said. And I don't know about Wings Point, if they had a school back then or not. But I know Victoria Cove and Clark Said and Rogers Cove, they had a teacher. They had the teacher school down there too.
So the system certainly improved over the years.
Yes.
The educational system is.
It's improved. I don't know if they learn any more now than they did
back then or not.
No, I don't know about that part. But we had strict teachers, you know, mostly strict teachers, and you had to learn.
Right.
Yeah.
Would many people go to school back then in your day?
Yes, there was quite a few.
Did all of them finish, or just